Begin. Okay. Hi, today we are going to be talking about the climate change and the life history of Apherusa glacialis. First of all, what is climate change? Climate change, also known as global warming, is when the temperature of the globe is either increasing or decreasing. Now, this is a normal cycle that the Earth goes through, but the problem today is the rate that is actually increasing. Some of the reasons for this unnatural rate of increase is the human population using increasive use of fossil fuels that is leading to an excessive amount of CO2 concentration in the atmosphere. This excessive CO2 concentration actually leads to more infrared radiation, which will lead to a higher increase in temperature. Some of the impacts of this include some geographic changes of some organisms, such as malaria, which is generally a tropical disease, is actually being spread north, and some phenology changes, which include flowers that are blooming at an earlier time and animals that are migrating to their breeding grounds at an earlier period. Some NPP changes also will include an increase on land due to the fact that since a higher temperature on land, plants have a better chance of since there is a higher temperature on land and a higher CO2 concentration in the air, plants are able to photosynthesize better and are actually having an increase on land, while in the ocean there is a decrease due to less churning of nutrients in the ocean. So there are actually a lot less nutrients in the ocean, which will lead to less algae growth.
Okay, the effect of ice-free summers for Apherusa glacialis. The article that we chose to use for this presentation is listed up here, and it's using an organism called Apherusa glacialis, which is a small amphipod that lives on glaciers, and it feeds on algae that live on the glaciers. And right now, because of global warming, the ice caps are melting, which is causing Apherusa glacialis to be pushed down into the ocean, and the ocean is having temperatures that cannot sustain the life of Apherusa glacialis. It's just too warm. So this is why it's affected by global warming, is changes to the food source and amount of habitat space available. Right now, there's a lot of crowding for habitat space. They can't live on the glaciers altogether because there's less of them. And there's also a high competition level for food because the algae that they eat live on the glaciers.
The majority of the results that they found in this study, it suggests evidence of a pelagic phase that the Apherusa glacialis goes through. A pelagic phase is an open ocean phase when the Apherusa glacialis will actually detach itself from its ice and will drop about 2,000 kilometers down under the ocean into the currents down there and will actually ride them back up north. This happens during the polar night, which is about midwinter and lasts about 2 to 3 months. The reason that they do it during the polar night is because that is the period of time when there is the least amount of food on the ice, so they're not missing a big feeding period. And also, since it is the time when there is the least sunlight on the North Pole, they actually have the least chance of being predated upon. So that is the optimal time for them to go up there. And they also do this in combination with their reproduction period. And so the females will carry their eggs during the pelagic phase and will be able to hatch their offspring on the new ice in the spring when there is fresh algae, and will allow their offspring to have the best chance of survival while being born into an actual productive environment.
Okay, our discussion is how does global warming affect the Apherusa glacialis? And the big factor here is competition. The Apherusa glacialis haven't really had to compete as much, but now that the ice caps are melting, they have less room to find mates or to find habitat, and less room for them to find food and less food in general. And a big effect of global warming is a lowered MPP, which means that there are less autotrophs, which here are the algae. And this is creating in Apherusa glacialis more competition for food. And this, in effect, is creating a smaller population of the amphipod, the Apherusa glacialis, which is meaning less food for the other organisms because a lot of other organisms prey on Apherusa glacialis.
And our take-home message today is that global warming will affect more than just the temperature. It will also affect the ecology of the Apherusa glacialis and many other organisms, including some in our own area. And here are our resources.
Thanks for watching our presentation.